Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go a pretty entertaining email that was sent from a subscriber. This is from a guy, he doesn't say how old he is, but he shares his story from when he was in his mid to late 20s when he got out of the Army. In the Army, he was a combat medic, and when he got out, he got his first job in the private sector for a trauma clinic. And as it turns out, an all-female employee trauma clinic. Not just the particular office that he was hired into, I'm talking the whole company. And looking back, he thinks he was hired, obviously, for what would be the equivalent back then of DEI type of thing. They want to have a guy there. And let me tell you, as you probably could all imagine, I'm sure you're all shaking your heads when I told you this, it was from day one, it was drama central. And believe me, it was nothing but a miserable experience for him. And it backs up all the things we talk about, and many of you've talked about, and things like that, about when you have too many hens in the hen house. Well, okay, let me rephrase that. Of course, you have hens in the hen house, but you know what I mean. 5 years ago, I did a story about a all-female company, I think in the fashion industry. A woman worked in the fashion industry, didn't like all the guys there, started her own company, all women only. It was a disaster, and eventually went out of business. And she looked back and said, I should have had guys. Well, no different here. But our guy at the end of the story learned something very valuable, gives us good entertainment, but also he has the last laugh on the whole situation, the particular gal that made things very difficult for him. So it's a good lesson, aside from entertainment, it's a good lesson here, guys. When you're getting hired, make sure there's a good balance, that type of thing. Before I go into the story, a quick letter from a guy who's had a lot of success in his life. Watching my channel, this only take a couple minutes, and I wanted to read his thing here because he's doing well. This guy says, Hey SSM, I've been a subscriber to your channel for a little over 3 years now. I really like how you motivate us to be the best that we can be in life. I know you said this many times, but please do not reveal my email name. I won't reveal your name, guys. Don't worry. Anyway, I have a pretty good job, even though the work can be stressful at times, but hey, that's how it is sometimes. I'm 35 years old, single, I live alone, and have no desire to get married and have kids. Welcome to the club. I've been just focusing on myself, my goals, and the hobbies I enjoy outside of my career. I go to the gym a few days a week. I love to hike and go for walks, bowling, and I'm a hardcore gamer. I built up quite a bit in my 401k and have quite a bit invested in stocks. Awesome, brother. You're doing great. Thanks to the motivation from my father and you as well, I've also had my fair share of smack moments in the past, but haven't we all? If I end up meeting someone down the road, great. And if I don't, oh well. I'm happy either way. Hope all is well and keep kicking butt in life. Well, thank you, brother. I intend to. Well, that's great, man. Yeah, you're 35. Your prime really has just begun a few years ago. You got a career you like? Great. Keep kicking butt in that, moving up in your company, whatever the hell you do. I like the fact that you spend multiple days at the gym, keeping yourself in good shape. Good. Keep doing that. Don't forget to eat healthy, though. You can be in the gym every fucking day, but if you eat like crap, it's not going to do anything. I like the fact you get your hobbies and your interests, and you have an indifferent attitude. If I have a relationship one day with a girl I click with, great. If I don't, who cares? That's the place to be. It's more in your favor that way. And of course, I like the fact that you're saving money and investing it in the proper places. Since you're 35 and it sounds like you have most of your money invested in stocks, cool. If I was 35 years old, that's what I would do too, because with regards to your 401k, I wouldn't be able to tap that shit until my late 60s, so you got plenty of time to, go into invest in stocks. What is classified as more riskier various funds and all that, and just you got plenty of time for things to recover. You're going to do just fine. So keep doing that. Keep living beneath your means. Every month, you got extra cash to invest wherever the hell you want to do it, whether it's in your 401k or things outside your 401k like your brokerage. Just be smart about it. Think long term and just keep doing it every month. You'll be in a good place. Again, that's what I would do. This isn't advice. It's just what I would do. Anyhow, good job to you, man. You're kicking butt. I'm really proud of you. Okay, on to the main event. The story you won't forget anytime soon, guys. This guy says, good afternoon, SSM. Well, it's almost 7 o'clock here in Florida because I don't film in the daytime because it's too freaking hot. If you ever need another reason to avoid the gals in the workplace, this story might do the trick. When I was in my mid to late 20s, I just gotten out of the Army, where I had served as a combat medic. I never worked for a civilian employer before, so I was both nervous and optimistic about transitioning into the private sector. After a lot of applications, I landed an interview to manage a trauma clinic a few hours from my hometown. Okay, I forgot that at the beginning of the story. He says, manage a trauma clinic, an all-female employee trauma clinic. Let's see how this goes. The regional supervisor, a woman named She-Ra, like fucking She-Ra, that cartoon in the 80s, like He-Man's sister. Yes, I remember this. Or She-Ra, but fuck it. I'm calling the bitch She-Ra. She-Ra it is. She-Ra greeted me. I mispronounced her name during the handshake, and she scowled as she corrected me. I bet you called her She-Ra. I was immediately clear that her name was a sore spot. Oh yeah, you called her She-Ra, all right. You're like, how's He-Man doing? Ha ha ha. He says, red flag number 1. But I need the job, plus it looked great on the resume. He says, the interview gauntlet. During my interview, She-Ra emphasized how hard the job was and warned me that leadership was treated like the enemy by the staff. Well, then, obviously, it's time for an attitude adjustment in this place. That shit can't fly. Red flag number 2, but I dismissed it. After all, I'd worked in an ER trauma room and seen people die every day for the last 5 years. How bad could it really be? I figured she was either exaggerating or incompetent. Not exaggerating. You're about to see his experience in the Army as a combat medic and seeing people die was easier than all the drama that he had to deal with the women. It turns out she was not exaggerating, and she was incompetent. I didn't know that the bar could be that low. The 4th and final interview was conducted by a panel of 4 women in leadership roles. One of them asked if I had any issue taking orders from or working with women. I thought it was an odd question, but chalked it up to inexperience with civilian hiring practices. In the military, everyone works together or they're gone. Well, not so much in the private sector. My brother-in-law is in the Navy. He's a captain. He's a doctor. And he's going to be retiring in the next 2 years. And it's going to be very interesting seeing him go his whole career in the military since he was in his... when he got out of the Naval Academy to now going in the private sector. Good God. I'll be hearing the stories at Christmas. Sensing how intently they were watching me, I simply shrugged and said, I'm married. They all laughed, the tension broke, and I could tell I had the job. But then came the subtle bombshell. One of the women casually mentioned that there were no men working at any of their 15 locations. That is when, even if you are having to live in your own car, and no, I don't live in my own car, smartasses, even if you're living in your own car, you should have been out of there, because this isn't going to work. Why do you think that is? There's no guys there. Internally, I screamed, what the hell? Out loud, I asked, can you expand on that, please? Are you saying there's a significant gender disparity across the organization? He says they dodged the question. Red flag, DEFCON 5. I started suspecting I was being hired to prevent a gender discrimination lawsuit. The irony wasn't lost on me. I smirked at the thought. Yeah, you're thinking you're big and bad. You were a combat medic, which I highly respect, bro, and you're in the Army, and everything you dealt with, you're like, I can handle these chicks, no problem. Ha, ha, ha. Oh, yeah? He says, okay, next section, the offer and the oddities. Well, they made me a generous offer. I countered with a number 20% higher, figuring this was just a standard negotiating process. They looked shocked. Apparently no one had ever done that before. They accepted, but added to the growing pile of oddities. I signed the offer and went home. He says, next up, welcome to the shit show. 2 weeks later, I started the job, and holy hell, the red flags didn't do it justice. Dude, they were there. Now, I don't know if it was ego, like you can handle this, or maybe thinking you're going to get some with all these female employees, or you just really needed the job. I don't know, but the red flags were there. She-Ra had me sit in her office for 2 weeks straight, gossiping about staff instead of training me. Shocker, shocker, shocker. On my first week, one of the women quit on the spot, chucked her badge at She-Ra, and walked out. Gee, I wonder why. The team of 5 was now 4 people. I hadn't even started yet. I asked She-Ra what the department's main challenges were. She said flatly, everyone hates leadership. I asked who had been running the department before I arrived, and she said, I did. Perfect. Well, again, time for a major attitude adjustment here. I decided I'd apply teamwork, structure, and accountability just like in the military. Get the fuck out of here. Number one, accountability with all female clientele, with all female office workers, employees, and try to run the private sector office like the military? Yeah, please. If that worked in life and death environments, surely it could work here. All the military guys are laughing their asses off here. I was very, very wrong. Next up, he says the HR shitstorm. All my employees were women. Every day, someone was calling HR. On each other, on Shira, even on me. Half my time was spent in HR meetings. Freaking ridiculous. Drama, drama, drama. This sounds exactly like that story I covered 5 years ago. Maybe you guys heard know the story. They're always fighting. The factions and the all-female fashion company and everything. My God. Eventually, I was told there were 4 harassment complaints against me. Number 1, Sarah. Sarah said she felt unsafe because I didn't move far enough to the side when we passed in the hallway. No contact ever occurred. Didn't move far enough? Number 2, Lindsay. Well, Lindsay complained that I didn't talk to her as much as the others. Lindsay always gave one-word answers while the others were conversational. Well, no shit. If she's giving you one-word answers, you're not going to talk to the bitch. Number 3, Jenny. Jenny said I stood too close when I pointed at something on her screen. Oh, for God's sakes. Sarah says you're too far away from her. Jenny says you're too close. Number 4, Cheryl. Cheryl, whose mother was dying of cancer, cried at work. I gently touched her shoulder and told her I was sorry. Bad idea. My own mother died of cancer when I was young. That shoulder touch was apparently a mortal sin to her. I was stunned. The Army drilled strict professionalism into us, and I lived by that code. Shira, meanwhile, berated me in front of HR like I was some kind of animal. The only words I could get out of my mouth was, "This is insane." It is insane. And why you're still, unless you actually had to have that job, I don't know why you didn't get out of there. But obviously, you're in the Army, you're not going to quit, and I get that, but still. Guys, in life, there are times you just have to cut your losses and move on. It is what it is. Whether you lost money in investment or money and time on a girlfriend or whatever, it's not worth it. From that point on, she doubled down, demanding impossible reports, faster turnarounds, and unreasonable deadlines. Then Cheryl quit, just like the first badge, throw and all. 1 month in, my team of 5 was down to 3. I thought about quitting every single day. A few months later, Shira asked me why I hadn't quit yet. Really? I didn't even look up at her. I just said, I don't quit. I seemed to set her off. She ramped up the pressure. People kept quitting on her. I was constantly interviewing just to backfill roles. This whole operation is a joke. My most experienced employee made a minor mistake, and Shira fired her right on the spot. When I tried to defend her, Shira made it clear if I kept pushing, not only would I be fired, but HR would launch an investigation into why I was defending this woman so much. In other words, hinting that you were having inappropriate relations with her. She's something. It all came down to one fact. I was a man, and I had no defense. Well, nothing's changed. The breaking point. Dude, how you held out this long? Let's be honest. You're a tough guy, and you weren't going to quit, but still. At a leadership meeting, we were asked why our department's retention was so low. Really? I wanted to tell the truth. Number 1, employees are forced to work 12-hour shifts with no lunch. That is freaking crazy. 2, Shira micromanages the hell out of everyone. 3, she manipulates staff into spying on each other. They follow her lead. Number 4, the systems are super user-unfriendly. Even clicking cancel instead of X can get you fired. Instead, I played it safe. The lack of lunch breaks in my department had been a point of contention. The director exploded. That's a long-standing policy. I don't want to hear about it again. No lunch for a 12-hour shift? Are you freaking kidding me? What if you got someone who's diabetic or any other issues there? What? Do they let you go to the bathroom in 12 hours? Shira gave me a smug look. The meeting had ended. A few weeks later, during a snowstorm, I called Shira 3 hours before the shift and told her we needed to close. She lost her mind. I left early, drove slowly in whiteout conditions, and made it in barely. When I arrived, HR was waiting for me, another reprimand. Oh, for goodness sake. That was it. I finally gave up. Dude, it's not giving up. It's just cutting your losses. For the first time in my life, I gave up, and it burned my pride like hell. I'm sure it did. I slapped my ID on the desk and said, I resign, effective immediately. Shira smirked. But I didn't feel defeated. I felt pity. I knew she cried in her office every single week. She was miserable and too stubborn to leave. Pot calling the kettle black here. But yeah, good she's crying. But she creates the environment that she definitely adds to the environment of why it's so miserable. She wasn't going to apply anywhere else. She didn't think she had any options. So, poor her. She was just down to just 2 other employees running a 6-person clinic. She now had to do her own job, my job, and the jobs of the 4 people who had quit under my watch. Oh, big... It's just like the girls in the stories I cover where they create the mess as their lives and they bawl their eyes out because of dealing with the repercussions. I left with a big smile on my face for the first time that year. Well, I'm sure you felt a big sigh of relief. The aftermath. Well, a month later, HR called and asked me my opinion of Shira. I'd be like, how much time do you got? I thought long and hard about it. If I was more mature, I would have handled it differently. But I told them, Shira is great. You should keep her as long as possible. Now, when I first read this, I'm thinking, why the hell would you want to say this? Why don't you get her fired? Well, that's the thing. She won't quit, and the job makes her miserable, so keep her there. They thanked me. I smiled, remembering all the times I heard her sobbing behind the closed doors. No, I'm not proud of the pettiness, but after a year of a toxic organization filled with 200-plus women who hated each other and treated HR like a weapon, I wasn't in the best state of mind. I got a problem with it. Well, 4 months later, she was fired. The department was shut down permanently. So, that clinic that she was in charge of, or like the whole 15-clinic operation? Would I have preferred she remain trapped in that hellhole forever? Absolutely. But 4 months was something. I just think about all the people they catered to in this operation. Well, today she hasn't moved forward in her career. I check LinkedIn now and then for curiosity, not revenge. I now make about 7 times her salary based on her position. Of course she's not going to go anywhere in life. Sometimes I look back and wonder if it all actually happened. It was so absurd, it feels like a fever dream. Well, more like a freaking nightmare. Thanks for reading, gentlemen. That was my first job out of the military and one of many lessons on dealing with women that I would absorb in my 20s. And I'm sure there are many lessons after that. So there you go, guys. Another entertaining story making the point of just the unnecessary drama, pettiness, all that. So unnecessary, but it's like high school, for goodness sake. But that chick in charge, Shira, she vastly created an environment that was so horrible, but she was so miserable, everybody else is going to be miserable, and then she's crying about it because everybody's miserable because she makes it miserable. Anyhow, how you stayed in there so long, I'll never know. I know you didn't want to quit and all that, but guys, in life, sometimes cut your losses and move on. It's not worth suffering. Think about it. Anyhow, bro, good story there, and just makes all our points. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. If you like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.